Can you rewire your brain? It sounds like something out of science fiction, but the truth is, your brain is always changing its structure in response to your experiences. What does that mean for your daily life? Let's find out. I make videos that help you learn how to learn. If you want to learn more about learning and the brain, subscribe for more updates. The answer to the question of whether you can rewire your brain is yes. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of how it happens, let's talk about what it means to rewire your brain. Imagine your brain as a vast network of roads connecting cities. In this analogy, the cities are individual neurons, and the roads between them represent the connections or synapses between those neurons. These connections aren't static, though. They can grow and strengthen, becoming wider roads, or they can disappear altogether, leaving just a trail in the wilderness. Neuroplasticity is the ability of your brain to change the strength of these connections in response to your experiences. Neuroplasticity was once considered a characteristic only of younger brains, but now we know that it's a lifelong process. This means that as you learn new things, form new habits, meet new people, and experience new places, your brain changes to accommodate these changes in your life. So how exactly do these changes happen? Let's take a look at two important processes involved in neuroplasticity: neurogenesis and synaptogenesis. Neurogenesis is the formation of new neurons. We once thought that neurogenesis stopped after a period of rapid brain development in early life. However, it turns out that neurogenesis continues in certain areas of the adult brain, such as the hippocampus, which is involved in memory, and the cerebellum, which is involved in movement and coordination. For example, if you decide to learn a musical instrument, neurogenesis may play a role in the changes that occur in your brain as you develop proficiency in playing it. Synaptogenesis is the formation of new synapses between neurons. Synapses are the connections between neurons where communication occurs. When you engage in an activity, different neurons in your brain become active and communicate with each other via these synapses. The more you use a particular pathway or connection between neurons, the stronger that connection becomes. On the flip side, if you don't use a particular pathway, the connection between the neurons weakens, and eventually it might be pruned away entirely. These processes of neurogenesis and synaptogenesis work together to allow your brain to adapt to new information and experiences. For example, if you start going to the gym regularly, neurogenesis and synaptogenesis may play a role in the changes that occur in your brain. As you build muscle mass and improve your cardiovascular fitness, the new neurons in your brain will form new connections with existing neurons, creating new pathways for communication in your brain. But how does neuroplasticity actually benefit us? Well, it allows us to learn new skills, form new habits, and even recover from injury. Let's start with learning new skills. Learning a new language is a great example of how neuroplasticity can help us acquire new abilities. When you first start learning a language, you may struggle to remember vocabulary words and grammar rules. But as you continue to study and practice, you begin to see improvements in your ability to understand and use the language. This is because the neurons in your brain that are involved in language processing are forming new connections with each other, allowing for more efficient communication and processing of the new language. Another great example is learning to play a musical instrument. Playing an instrument requires a high degree of coordination between your hands, your eyes, and your ears. As you practice playing an instrument, your brain forms new pathways that allow you to perform the necessary movements and produce the desired sounds. Now let's move on to habit formation. Habits are behaviors that we perform repeatedly and often without conscious thought. For example, brushing your teeth is a habit that most of us do every day without thinking about it. Habits are formed through repetition, and neuroplasticity plays a key role in this process. When you repeat a behavior over and over again, the neurons in your brain that are involved in that behavior become more active. This increased activity strengthens the connections between the neurons, making it easier for your brain to perform the behavior in the future. Eventually, the behavior becomes automatic and requires little conscious effort. For example, if you decide to start going for a run every morning, neuroplasticity will help you form the habit. At first, you may have to consciously think about putting on your running shoes and getting out the door. But as you continue to go on runs, your brain will start to form new pathways that make the behavior more automatic. Eventually, you may find yourself getting up early and going for a run without even thinking about it. Now let's talk about recovering from injury. Injuries can damage the brain and nervous system, and neuroplasticity can help us recover from these injuries. For example, if you have a stroke, neuroplasticity can help you regain lost functions. After a stroke, there may be areas of the brain that are not functioning properly due to damage from the stroke. But with rehabilitation and therapy, you can stimulate the remaining healthy neurons to form new connections and take over the functions of the damaged neurons. Now, let us get into some ways that you can harness the power of neuroplasticity to improve your life. One way to promote neuroplasticity is to challenge yourself to learn new things. Learning new things stimulates the formation of new neurons and new synapses in the brain. So by challenging yourself intellectually, you can help your brain stay sharp and adaptable. This could involve taking classes, reading books, solving puzzles, or engaging in any other activities that require you to think creatively and problem solve. Another way to promote neuroplasticity is to engage in regular physical exercise. Exercise has been shown to have a number of benefits for the brain, including improving blood flow to the brain, increasing the production of neurotransmitters, and promoting the growth of new neurons and synapses. Just a few sessions of moderate intensity exercise per week can make a difference. And finally, let's talk about the importance of sleep. Sleep is essential for the brain to function properly, and it's also important for neuroplasticity. During sleep, the brain processes and stores memories. So it's important to get enough sleep to allow for these processes to occur. Additionally, sleep deprivation has been shown to impair cognitive function and decrease the amount of neurogenesis that occurs in the brain. In summary, neuroplasticity is an amazing ability of the brain to change its structure in response to experiences, allowing us to learn new skills, form new habits, and recover from injury. By understanding how neuroplasticity works, we can take steps to promote it and improve our cognitive function and overall brain health. So keep challenging yourself to learn new things, get regular exercise, and get enough sleep. And you will well be on your way to harnessing the power of neuroplasticity. If you liked this video, check out this playlist on learning in the brain. And if you really liked this video, subscribe and leave a comment below. I love reading your comments, and I do my best to reply to as many of them as possible. Thanks for watching, and until next time, happy learning.